Now, in this video, I'd like to take you through the title of the video and paint you a picture, but also hopefully give you some solution to the issue. Now, artists and creators have essentially been forced into the position of beggars, really. And this is going to sound like a kind of a rant, and in a way, it is a rant, but it's a rant with a deeply spiritual energy woven into the rant. Now, the culture that we find ourselves in now is often described by many, and I think this is quite an accurate description, as techno feudalism. So these kind of the tech oligarchs and all of the corporations that are now sitting, you could say, at the top of this pyramid. And at the bottom of the pyramid are, like normal people and artists, especially. But artists are actually even in a worse position than normal working people, so to say, because not only are we at the bottom find ourselves at the bottom of this pyramid, but we're also at the periphery of the bottom. So I think the erosion of the artist and the creator and the exclusion of the artist and creator as central to culture has been really going on for a long time. And you could say maybe it's even been sort of incrementally happening since the end of the Renaissance. But that's another whole matter for history. And of course, before, say, 1995-ish, we still had significant countercultures which were springing up every few years in order to make sure that the voice of the creators, the voice of the creatives, could still be heard and had some traction in terms of influencing the direction of the culture. But really, since the birth of the internet and, moving into the 2000s and where we are today, under this sort of pyramid. And at the top of the pyramid, obviously, there's the all-seeing eye, metaphorically. Now, the thing with the all-seeing eye, the man-eye, the one eye, is that it sees all, but only sees all in one dimension. And it's the dimension of the material. So as artists and creators, creatives, the creative spirit is really tapped into the multi-dimensional, the multi-dimensional realities and the magical realities, the spiritual realities, the dream realities. Now, these are all realities that have no real traction in the all-seeing eye reality, where you even see it now with all of this movement to try and live forever and trying to, cheat death and stuff like that, that only a privileged few will live forever, so to speak, constantly renewing their genes. And if that doesn't work, they'll just upload themselves to some network somewhere and live forever as some kind of digital consciousness or whatever. Now, we see that what really this is all about is that we've squeezed God, a multi-dimensional God, goddess, out of the picture, and we have this one-dimensional God, the money, the god of money, the one eye. And, that too has been manipulated and coagulated into a god that has no other, nothing really to offer except materialism. And for the artist, this environment is absolutely the antithesis of what we thrive in. Now, you see, in a sense, what the cultures that do thrive are the cultures that place that are, well, first of all, they're the cultures that aren't hierarchical, where you have, just the top of the top of the pile is all of the hoarders and accumulators and those that are willing to exercise force to hoard and accumulate. And you see where the everybody else is forced down into the bottom in service to that particular way of operating. Now, a true culture is one that has spirit, and one that works on these multi-dimensional levels is a horizontal culture where you don't have these hierarchies. There's no such thing of just because what you're born into a particular family, you're higher than somebody else. No, we all have our individual sense of being. We all have our sovereignty. And the artist is there to serve a specific purpose. And you see, this is where we've gone off track. You see, the thing is that we live in this culture now where reality has been turned into Amazon Prime. So even the idea of being able to manifest and everything, like you can have whatever you want and do so, it's all about like if there is any higher power brought into it, it's a higher power brought into, it's serving us. And really what you can discover is that that's completely the wrong orientation. These are higher powers, higher intelligences, higher principles, higher qualities, higher expressions. And we, up until more recent history, have always been in service to them. So it's what we can do for them. So we enter into a relationship of being useful for this higher possibility. So the artist is really the shaman and the magicians placed in the center, bit like kind of like a bullseye. The artists and the creators are in the center because they're the interpreters. They interpret these multi-dimensions and they give voice and structure to them. And in doing that, that voice and that structure is permeated out to everybody else. So we all have the opportunity through ritual to participate in the culture, to grow in the culture, to thrive in the culture. And it's a culture where if everybody's thriving, then that's what it's about. If there's people that aren't thriving, then we have to go back to the center and we have to reimagine and we have to reintegrate ourselves with this higher principle, the creative spirit, you could call it God. In a way, magic and creativity and God and creativity could be all synonymous. And we found ourselves now in this situation where the artist is now walking around with a begging bowl to these systems where we cannot flourish unless we participate and we are like performing clowns in these systems or this system. And really the solution to this, what I'm saying is that as creators, as artists, we have to see clearly what we have gotten ourselves into, the situation that we've arrived at. And in some ways, it's a little bit like a thing called Stockholm. I think it's called Stockholm syndrome, where the captors, people that are taken captive or prisoners, start to form empathetic relationships with their captors. And this is really kind of a survival mechanism. And in a way, what we've done, we've all walked into this and participating with these systems and not really offering any form of counterculture to them. And it's in the counterculture that new possibilities arise. So new platforms can arise, new ways of understanding, new ways of interpreting the multidimensional nature of reality. So where we had the gods, goddesses, and each one of those was interpreting, those archetypes were expressing different aspects of reality and mirroring those so we could understand them and integrate them into our lives and be of service to those higher principles. And that is the function of the creator, the artist. And the artist is the one that can not only give voice to these things, but the artist was always the one that could challenge the status quo, could present a new opportunity, that could speak in a language that wasn't spoken, language that wasn't spoken. It's a language that is felt. It's visceral, but it's visual. It's music. It's all of these different expressions of creativity. And they sit, they bring something from beyond language. And they introduce it. Now, with the artist on the bottom of the pile and the periphery, the artist is like, we even say it in a way, like the magicians are make believe. It's almost like the downgrading of everything sacred into just something work a day. Now, in cultures that put the artist, the creator, in the center, not above anybody, but in the center, so they get to have that interpretation, and that interpretation gets to spread itself out into the culture and work itself in. Problems and issues are worked out through the multi-dimensional realms, not just the realm of matter. And in a sense, what this does, this hierarchical pyramid, the one eye, it keeps us permanently trapped in matter. And that's why they all try not to die. But you see, when you're permanently trapped in matter, it's like a butterfly permanently trapped in a cocoon. It never gets to flourish. And you see, that's why the artists now are in a position where we have to go cap in hand to these systems in order for them to service us with a living, you could say. And really, the idea is that the artist and the creator, the magician, the shaman, they bring healing, they bring prosperity. They are the bringers of prosperity. They are the interpreters of the multidimensional realities that allow us to prosper. And as we prosper, we become in service to these higher intelligences. We become in service to life itself. And when we're trying to, it's important to realize that we're trying to move forward as creatives in a system that is the antithesis of everything that we're about. And you see this, like, why are some so-called creators and artists have everything and then everybody else has nothing? It's because the ones that are given that status are kind of like just symbols, really. And it all boils down to, like, when they talk about an artist now, like someone like Damien Hirst, it's all framed in he's worth hundreds of millions. And this is how we judge things. Like, you've got, super rich people hoarding art. So art has been, in a sense, turned into money. Like it's like art is money, like time is money, life is money. And this is a completely inverted way, distorted way of understanding it. Yes, we want to thrive and flourish, but we all need to thrive and flourish. And the job of the creator, the job of the artist, the job of the shaman, the job of the magician is to sit there and to be the voice of the multi-dimensions, so it helps everybody understand what needs to happen. And everybody in the culture has value. Everybody brings something to the table. And the way back to this is for us to really bring our creativity back into the center of everything and to value that creativity as deep service to the sacred. Now, whether these systems want to comply with that or not, that's one thing. But we need to re-establish the creative as the bringer of counterculture, so to speak. So the one that questions, the one that brings new ideas to life, clears the space for new ideas, new ways of thinking about things, not the orchestrated, already ideas, already understood way of doing things. We have to facilitate that for ourselves first. So we have to not only value us as creators, but see the position that we can take within the culture. So again, it's not what we can get, it's what we can how we can serve the greater aspect of life, the spirit of life. So we become in service to that. And once we reconnect with our spiritual nature as artists, as creators, to really reconnect with that, then we start to enter into a dynamic relationship with it. And that dynamic relationship guides us. It's like a guiding principle. And that guides our actions, it guides our motives, it guides our words. And we stop wandering around these systems with a begging bowl, and we start to dictate, in a sense, what new possibilities can arise and enroll other creatives into that possibility. And then in turn, as that energy rises, as that energy becomes greater, and again, as it permeates out into society, the communication becomes clear. Once again, the current of sacredness is activated, and each one of us can take responsibility for doing that as a creative, as an artist. Now, it doesn't mean that that system is going to disappear overnight, but we have to start the process of this now. It's super important. And like I said, what's happened is that these systems just homogenize everything. We're buried under a forever piling nonsense of advertising and the way things should be. Yeah, like I said in my last video, the box that we're all in, and we don't realize we're in the box. So this is a time for us to get together, to come together as creatives, not all just sit in our own separate little hubs, working away, to get likes and thanks on these systems. It's like coming together, meeting up in actuality as well, to talk about and to create and to see what we can bring to life and how we can unplug ourselves from this one eye system and begin to again look at this horizontalness, how we as artists and creators can sit within there and give voice to the sacred. And of course, like I said before in other videos, the thing that these systems cannot handle is the rapturousness, the ecstatic. And the more rapturous and ecstatic we can make life, the more we bring that to life in life, the more we will have traction within reality. And we realize that we can create different ways of trade, different ways of interacting with current. And it all sounds like it's not possible. So from within the box and the one-eyed system, it's not possible. But from within the multi-dimensional reality, it becomes possible. And we have a role in this, and we can embrace it. So I invite you to do that. I invite you to disengage as much as possible from this already established orchestrated system that has us all running around uh, more and more and more for less and less and less, and start to come together and as a community, as a culture of creatives, and see how we can reactivate the sacred, bring the sacred back to life, reignite the current, open it up, have a dialogue, re-establish the multi-dimensional reality, the dialogue between all of these different facets of reality. So I wish you well, and do let me know what you think about this. And I'd love to hear what you've got to say. And please join the channel as well. I'd love to have you on board. And I'll see you in the next video.